What's up, gamers? Coops here. Welcome to the video. If you're here right now, thank you so much for stopping by the channel. I really appreciate that. But there's also a pretty high chance that you're here because you played the Battlefield 6 open beta. And I don't know about you gamers, but man, I found myself getting bit by the Battlefield bug. I got this itch that I haven't been able to scratch since the beta left, and it reassures me that there are good things to come in the future for Battlefield. I found myself going back and downloading Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, Battlefield 1. I even downloaded Battlefield 2042, and I've spent at least 2 or 3 hours with each of these games in the last week or so, and none of them quite satisfied in the same way that Battlefield 6 open beta did. And I think that that's a really fascinating thing because we didn't even have the entire game at our fingertips with this one. You know, we had a handful of maps, we had limited gadgets for our different classes, we had a small selection of what we can hope will be a larger armory of weapons to choose from, and yet here I am still missing Battlefield 6, surprisingly. And so today I've got 2 clips for us. One we just saw, that was a really fast-paced 11 kill streak in a game of King of the Hill, but this second clip that I have here is going to be from a game of Rush. And I like the idea that these 2 clips kind of they play off of each other a little bit. The one being fast-paced and instant action, and I'm racking up all of these kills left and right. I'm making smart decisions on the fly that are going to lead to me, you know, being able to put myself in an advantageous position. And I'm really, in a lot of ways, I wasn't so much focused on the objective of that game in King of the Hill, and I feel like there's probably a good chance that you're, you know, possibly pretty similar when it comes to some of those game modes that are a little bit smaller, close quarters with a larger focus on the infantry warfare. But one of my favorite game modes has always been Rush. And one of the things that I love about Rush is that it leads to these really intense moments where where you shoot your teammate. No, it leads to these really intense moments where the tickets are counting down and it's really getting to the wire, and you don't have many reserve respawns left, but you've got to plant that one more, you know, objective so that you can push to the next sector. And there's just something really special about the pacing and the immersion of the gameplay when it comes to something like Rush. And I have long time been a fan of the support style of play. Not necessarily specifically the support class, because historically support class has often been the class that provides extra ammunition for the squad. But in Battlefield 6, the support class is going to be providing ammunition and emergency medical assistance. And I love the defibrillators in just about any game that I play. I think that it's really fascinating to kind of add this extra layer of optional gameplay when you have something like a defibrillator or bandages or a medical crate. It opens up the possibilities for you, the player, to kind of broaden your experience on the battlefield. And that's one of the things that I love about these games, is that it offers something unique to anybody who's playing it. You know, personally, I'm not somebody who typically uses a lot of tanks or helicopters or fighter jets, but I certainly appreciate the fact that they're there for players to engage with. That's what leads to this whole great experience that is Battlefield. And so I love the idea of being this combat medic. In this clip, I'm going to survive for about 13 minutes, which on its own, for me, was just such a huge accomplishment. I think that when I compare these 2 clips, the one clip where, you know, I'm racking up a lot of kills in a short amount of time, and this clip where I'm really kind of playing more methodically, supporting the team, taking my time as we advance and push these different sectors, I think that both of these clips, in the moment when I was playing it, have this equal level of satisfaction, right? There's like something so rewarding about being able to get this sort of awesome experience when it comes to a game like this. To survive on the battlefield for 13 minutes, and I think I rack up close to 25 revives along the way, which in a game like Rush is pretty important because, as you can see, those tickets are constantly counting down, and so to be able to bolster the team with an extra 25 chances to push the sector and to, you know, capture our objective is just an awesome experience. So if you're here right now, there's a good chance that you, like me, have been stricken by this fever. We want more Battlefield and we want it now. And unfortunately, at least for me, going back and playing Battlefield 4 and 5 and 1 and 2042, like I mentioned, they just didn't hit in the same sort of way. And I found that really fascinating. I think that Battlefield 4, while it was an amazing game for its time, at least on console, nowadays, it feels a little bit dated. You can kind of see some of the flaws in the overall game's design. And also, when it comes to some of the maps that we have available in these different games, I found myself, not that I'm not appreciating the older maps, but I found myself appreciating these new maps a little bit more than I had initially. You know, I think that when I had first played the beta, I kind of wrote off some of these maps as being a little bit bland or mediocre. They didn't really lack, or they didn't really have that sort of special sauce. There was something that I just kind of felt like was lacking about them. And having gone back and played these different Battlefields, you know, that have come out in the last decade, I really had a more fond appreciation for the overall map and level design that I experienced in the Battlefield 6 open beta. Not to say that these maps are perfect or, you know, that there's anything particularly amazing about them. I just think that they're designed fairly well. They give you a lot of options when it comes to moving around the map, and they fit for the game modes that they're offering as well. I do think that it's going to be really fascinating to see some of the larger maps that they are saying that they have available to us upon release. But I think that it was really cool to kind of go back and play the old maps of these, you know, previous titles, and then have a more of a raw comparison point for what we experienced in the beta. I think of all of the Battlefield games that I just, you know, spent a couple of hours playing within the last week, I think Battlefield 5 stood out as having some of the most, like, holy crap moments. And I think that some of that comes from the fact that within your squads, you have a squad leader, and the squad leader can actually call down different reinforcements. So they can call down a smoke screen, or they can call in like an Abrams tank, and there's also like an artillery strike. And so having these different elements added into the game really added to this, you know, next level feeling of being in the midst of a war. And so that was really cool. I also really came to appreciate the kind of base building mechanic that they added for Battlefield 5. I don't think that it would necessarily fit in all Battlefields, but it certainly fit in that game. Being able to reinforce an objective by piling on sandbags and building barbed wire and different things like that was such a cool element. And I feel like Battlefield 5, at least in my experience, it was something that I kind of, you know, I played it for a bit, but then I kind of wrote it off pretty quickly. So it was nice going back and re-experiencing it and getting to enjoy what was there for what it was. But man, just didn't quite hit the same as Battlefield 6. And I think a big part of that is just this return to modern technology and modern warfare, right? Because with Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, we were going back to, you know, World War I and World War II. And I think just kind of updating things to feel a little bit more modern or even a little bit more futuristic, it adds this extra level to the feeling, the overall feeling that the game is offering to you. When I was initially thinking about what I wanted to discuss with this video, aside from just being excited and optimistic for Battlefield 6 when it launches, I had this thought of talking about slowing down when you're out here and not just, not just running in to danger and then getting shot and then instantly respawning. Especially, again, reinforcing the fact that in a game mode like Rush, I don't want to sound dramatic, but every respawn does matter. And being able to hold on for a couple of extra seconds so that a medic can get to you, it really does make a difference to the overall flow of the battle. Like, games in Rush are won and lost based on how well you can manage your resources. And sometimes you might win a game with 50 or 60 respawn tickets left, but sometimes it comes right down to the wire where you've got 3 or 4 more respawn tickets, and if you lose them all, it's over. So I really love the idea of having to really kind of focus in on making the most out of every life that you have when you're out here. I know that it's really easy to just kind of, especially in a game like Conquest, it's really easy to just respawn, run out, get a couple of kills, die, and then respawn and do it all over again. But I really love the kind of tactical decision making that is offered when you kind of slow down, you play and support your team, you fill the role of your class, and just overall have this cohesive level of teamwork within your squad. It just, again, it's something that I really haven't been able to find elsewhere. There was a game that launched on console within the last 2 weeks called Delta Force. I think it had been out on PC and maybe even on mobile for a little bit. But I was hoping that it was going to kind of be like this free-to-play Battlefield-like game. And I really didn't enjoy it when I spent, 10 hours with the game. I felt like it was kind of lackluster. And that even further kind of has reinforced this idea that Battlefield 6 does have something special on their hands. And then I think back to my very first, my first impressions video. It's still here on the channel. And in the thumbnail, I said mid. That's all it says is mid. Battlefield 6, mid. And I think that it's just fascinating to see how, as I spent more time with the game, I really came to appreciate what it was offering to us. I think that the pacing, the time to kill, the different classes and what they offer, all of it felt great. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what else they can add to this game, again, to kind of raise that bar. I think that we're at a really solid 8 right now, and I want to see how they're going to get us to a 10. I think this might be a decent place for me to just sign off and let you enjoy the rest of the video. I don't think that too much is going to happen between now and the end, to be completely honest with you, but I certainly can't cut the clip off too early. We gotta let it, we gotta let it play out. But this was, I think, like I said, I survived for about 13 minutes in this game of Rush before finally having to respawn. I think I had 24 revives. I tried to go back and kind of count. I think I could have had 25, but I think I just barely missed one of the guys there. And I end up going 5 kills with 8 assists here. So overall, MVP for sure. No, not to toot my own horn or anything, but when we see the scoreboard, you'll see guys who, they died 13 times, 9 times, 7 times, even though some of them are getting, 23 kills or 17 kills or whatever it might be. It's the guys behind the front lines that are keeping everybody going, helping support their squad, giving them ammo, and helping save these respawn tickets. And I just love that there's a little bit of something for everyone with Battlefield. Thanks again for being here. I have been and always will be Koobs. Peace and love, gamers.